So, can you make a lot of money in the trades? Yes. Like I said in my last video, I own a small fence company. So, and I've done that for 20 years. I've talked to a lot of different trades guys in every aspect. So if you're younger and you're looking to get into the trades and start out, I would recommend plan on working a lot, plan on learning a lot. And obviously that depends on how you grew up. You know, if you grew up working with family or your dad or tinkering in the garage and you're really familiar with tools and basic construction, you'll probably catch on pretty quick, depending on what trade you go in. But to make, everyone's got a different opinion on what's a lot of money. Here in San Diego, you know, you want to have a decent living and not be scraping by as a 18 to, I don't know, I got married young, so I say 18 to 25 year old. I would say that by the time you're 25, you should probably be making 100 grand if you're living out on your own, you have your own vehicle, before tax. And depending on the trade you go in, you might start between $25 an hour right now, because everything's booming right now and wages are up and nobody can hire anybody. And then from there, I mean, you figure 18 to 7 years, you should be getting upwards of 40 to 60 and higher, right? I mean, if you go do what I do and you go and get with a company that all they do is city and commercial work, that's prevailing wage. That can be between $70 and $90 an hour on commercial jobs for like cities, you know, the federal jobs, things like that, where they have to pay that wage and it's mandated. But if you're doing residential, then that's going to just depend on your skill set, your employer, and all that. But I would say that when you get into it and you start, you shouldn't really need that many tools because you're the new guy. Plan on doing the crappy part of the jobs. You're going to be probably doing a lot of cleanup and being a gopher for somebody above you. Hey, go get me this, go get me that, go get me that. And you're going to slowly learn. Then as you learn more, a lot of guys, because gas prices and all that stuff, they have a car, which is fine. I'm not saying you can't do this out of a car, but depending on what your trade is, you're probably going to eventually need a truck. And I know that a lot of guys, they don't want to go that route. And I'm not talking a big 1-ton or a 2500. You know, a Ford Ranger is better. It's fine. I don't want to say better. But then you have a bed. You can get a toolbox. You can slowly start acquiring some tools. I would save up your money and get a better quality of the cordless setup. But whatever you got to start with, if you get a lower grade brand, then plan on saving more money for a few years down the line to replace them. The reason that I recommend when you go, if you know, to get a car or save the money up to get a truck, is eventually you're going to get to the point where if you work for a smaller company, where they might have side work. And I'm not talking like you giving your information to customers. I'm talking about going to your boss and saying, hey, I want to work a lot. I want to make a lot of money and I want to learn a lot. If there's anything on the side that you don't want to do that I could do, let me know. I'll do it. If it's on a Saturday. You can make anywhere between, 200 to the sky's the limit. I mean, sometimes I'll go out, I'll do a job for myself. Obviously, it's my own business. And I'll go out and work and do something, and it's literally an hour on the site, maybe 3 hours with driving and getting materials and things like that. And I'll make $500 to $850. That's kind of the low end. Yesterday, actual work on the site was 3 hours. I kind of BS with one of my suppliers for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I worked from, I don't know, I think I left my house at 8 and I got back at 2:30. Like I said, I literally worked for maybe 3 hours on a little repair, and I made $1,300. So yes, you can make a lot of money, but set yourself up when you're younger. Get a little truck that's used. Slowly acquire tools and work a lot in your younger years. And then save that money. Don't go out and see these guys that have been doing this for 10, 15 years and they've got super nice fancy trucks and, you know, where they have a $800, $1,200 a month payment. That stuff's great, but you don't need that to make a living. You don't need that to make good money. I mean, yeah, you want a reliable vehicle. So that's one thing I would recommend. And then I would say only buy the tools you need. I know guys that have every little specialty tool and they spend tens of thousands of dollars when they don't use those tools every day. They could, maybe there's a tool that's, you know, $1,000 tool and they're like, well, I'm just going to buy it. And then they use it once a year, twice a year, when they could have just rented it for $80 or $40 or $100, because you're not going to use that one tool all the time. So after that, I would say just learn. Whatever your trade is, just learn it and learn it well. There's a lot of guys that get into the trades and they learn the like 80% of it, but then they don't get the other 20%, which the other 20%, in my opinion, is problem solving, right? On the fly. Not having to call the boss and be like, hey, and whatever your weird situation is, having to call him and ask, or her, and say, I don't know how to do this. Because if you can figure those weird things out and on your own, they're gonna start realizing that you should be moving up because you can figure these things out. You're not calling them. You're calling them to say, hey, the job's done. Or the customer wants to add something, right? The things you should be calling about. And that's like, for me, that's been the hardest thing to find, is somebody who can just think on the fly. And that comes with time, I understand that, but it also comes with, I don't know, maybe it's personality, or, you know, every person's different. Some people, they can think like that. They don't overthink it, and they just figure out the problem and they get it done, right? Thinking outside the box, doing it right, but thinking outside the box. That is huge. And then showing up in construction, any of the trades, showing up will put you ahead of maybe 90% or higher of the guys that do this work. And doing what you say you're going to do, right? If your boss gives you an opportunity, he's like, hey, I need someone to get to the job site, unlock the gates, and get things ready, whatever that may be, at 6 o'clock, and you're like, yeah, I'll do it. Do it. Don't let him down, because he's not going to forget that, and he's not going to give you that opportunity, which might have been overtime, right? Do what you say you're going to do. If you do it on your own and you tell a customer that you'll be there at 8 o'clock and you're hitting traffic, call the customer and say, hey, I hit some traffic. That you will make so much more money by communicating and doing what you say you're going to do. So I feel like you're going to probably start, from what I've talked to guys, $40,000 a year, right? Again, I think my math is right. That's, you know, $40,000 to $50,000 a year is right around $25 an hour, depending if it's before tax, after tax, however you want to look at that. And then most guys I've talked to really cap out as an employee. Now, we're not talking like unions. I don't really know much about that. We're not talking doing strictly city work for agencies that have to pay that prevailing wage rate. $150. You know, if you want to make more than that, and you're younger, or even mid-20s, 30s, you know, depending on your situation, a lot of guys are starting over at my age. plan on saving, because you're going to have your slow times, right? And if every time you get a raise or you start making more money, you elevate your lifestyle, and then all of a sudden you've got 4 different big payments, and that slow dip that comes to construction. If you talk to anybody who's been in construction for a long period of time, I'm talking 20 years, they're going to tell you you're going to have your ups and downs. You're going to have your crazy busy times, and then you're going to have your slow times. And right now, the past 6 years have been crazy busy with COVID and all that. So I was thinking if I should have said COVID, because I guess YouTube messes with that, but maybe they don't anymore, but I don't really care. And then I would say after about 150 grand a year, again, as an employee, if you want to make more, plan on starting your own business. Small business, big business, whatever you want to do, is really, my opinion, how you're going to make more, well above $150,000 a year, depending on your trade and, again, how much you want to work and how much you want to put into it. I mean, there's times that, I'm up at 5:30 and I'm working in my office at home until 7:30. Now, at my age, I'm married, I have a kid, I try not to do that anymore. Just because I want to spend time with them. And that's kind of the benefit of being self-employed versus working for somebody. I guess it's a benefit. Some people would say it's not, but... And when you're self-employed, you control what you make, right? Like, obviously you need the customer. So customer service and doing what they want to a point is huge, right? Picking up your phone, calling them back, shooting them a quick text. Hey, I'm busy. I'll call you in an hour. Will get you a lot of business. Obviously, if you get employees, I have one. And the reason I have one is I've had multiples. I've had 4 at the max. And I just didn't like the headache that it brought. Now, maybe that's my area, that it's hard to find good help. It's hard to find guys that show up and do what they say they're going to do and want to work, and learn and be able to take over the job. So for me, it's nice because, like I said, again, I say numbers because I want people to know that you can make good money, but only if you're willing to work and you're willing to put yourself out there. I have guys that refer me work because they're like, oh, I would have had to charge too much. And I'm like, well, what's too much? Like, I have a minimum that I have to make per day for my truck to leave the driveway. And if I can't make that, then why would my truck leave the driveway if I can't pay my bills? I'll go broke at home. I'm not going to go broke working and hurting myself, as I would, I guess, say, right? Or possibly hurting myself. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, is when you start your own business, if you want to make $500 in a half day for, let's say an electrician. I mean, I had a guy come to my house where I'm at, and it was like $380 for him to, right at the panel, put in a different 30 amp RV plug. I had all the material. He did it. And he made, I think it was like $380. He might have had $20 in, I think a box or something like that, and one other thing, and that's because he worked for himself, and it literally took him 30 minutes. So that's how I feel. Unless your boss, you can make more money. But if your boss is cool and he will hand off those little jobs, or maybe when he's going to charge, $1,000 to do something, but he doesn't have the time, he can be like, hey, I'll give you $500 if you go do this, and I make $500. I know a lot of guys that do that with their really good employees. Typically that's like on the smaller business side, not these big union companies. So sky's the limit, guys. Just depends on what you want to do and how hard you want to work. So that's my opinion on things. And to recap, I would, in the beginning, learn everything you can. Listen to the old guys. Listen to the guys that have been doing it 10 years, who you can see know what they're doing. And you'll be able to tell pretty quick, the guys that are just doing the bare minimum and the guys that are doing above and beyond to get ahead. Talk to them, listen to them, their opinions, their knowledge. You can't get that anywhere else. Find the guy that you aspire to be. And I don't mean like the truck and the toys and all that. I mean in his work ethic and what he's doing and how much he knows. So then I would slowly acquire tools. Don't go out and spend $5,000 on tools on a credit card. Slowly buy them. Ask your boss, what do I need? And he might say, dude, I have all the tools. You don't need anything. But if you want to do something on your side, then save your money. So you have the money when you're ready to go buy a decent tool set. Get a truck, right? A van, depending on what you're doing, yes, you could probably do a van. But get something that you can do your own work out of. So maybe your family member is like, hey, I have this. You want to do it? Sure. So that's kind of where I'd go with it. This may have been all over the place, but I was trying to kind of focus on the money side and how much you can make and all of that. So, all right. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.